Welcome to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery starring Jerry Springer, along with Gene Galvin and me. I'm Megan Hills. We're recorded live in front of a brilliant studio audience at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky.
My daddy came home.
And here he is, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jerry Springer.
Oh, gosh, you know, that is so nice how you
got
put
a
that.
mister.
Mister, yeah, the mister's nice.
Because I missed you.
Yeah, no one at work ever says mister.
I believe that.
Yeah, they say, hey, you. Hey, what a week.
What a week. And by the way, it's so wonderful, first of all, to have Megan Hills back because
Aw, thanks.
we were way off our game without Megan. But Megan, we do have to ask you.
We're off our game every week because you're never here.
I'm always here.
No, I've never seen someone take more. We've been doing this for not even a year yet, and you've had about 15 weeks of vacation.
I've had to work mostly. Most of the time that I'm not here, I've
Is that
been
where
at
you
work.
were? So is that
No,
where you
this
were
time
last
was
week?
not work.
Well,
This
where
was
were
an
you last
actual
week? And
vacation.
then we'll decide if
Well,
you're
I
legit.
was in Belize and Cozumel
you
and
poor thing.
Key West.
Really?
Yeah, it was
Tough
tough.
work.
It was tough.
Tough work.
So you were were you on that cruise where the boat turned upside down?
No,
like
that
the
was
Titanic.
not.
And
No,
stuff?
that
And-
was. It was crazy that we did have some not that bad. They had the 23, 30-foot waves. We didn't have that. Yeah. But no, we were on down there.
Apparently, when you got your master's degree in HR and human resources, you must have learned the negotiation tricks
Mad
that people would
negotiation
do
skills.
on you. And then you're now using those on us as to how to get the vacation days that we don't get,
I
and
had
the
it worked
personal
into the
leave
contract.
days. And
yeah, I had it worked
Yeah.
in. So it's just easier that way. We don't have to fight about it later on. You didn't do that, Gene? I take it. Gene gets no vacation.
No one explained to me that they love
That's
you the
not
most on the first day of your job.
That's it. It's all
After
downhill
that, it's
from
like
there.
all downhill.
No,
from
you
there.
got to lock it up before you walk in the door, or
No,
it's bad.
Gene, you weren't loved on the first day of the job.
No, I think
were
you're
not-
right.
you were
Even
not
on that
loved.
first day.
Yeah, I said this is not going to work out.
Hey,
As we're doing this, there's a primary going on in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're going to probably get some results as this is going on.
And that speaks to the fact that we are now streaming live. So
Yes.
probably most people still hear this in the archive versions. That's fine. Please keep coming back. But if anyone wants to hear current takes on things pretty much as they're happening, at least if it's on a Tuesday night that we're here recording at the Folk School Coffee Parlor, they can do that now. You simply
Yes.
go to jerryspringer.com. If you're listening to an archive version on an app of some sort on your cell phone, if you go to jerryspringer.com, the website, or do that on your phone, you can then just click listen live according to the calendar that we'll put up there, the schedule.
Yeah.
And people can get the
Yeah,
take.
go
I'm
to the
gonna
website.
Turn my
Don't-
cell phone down, off. I think it's
Yeah.
really good. You know, Megan, you always tell the people in the audience,
Yeah.
turn off your cell phones, and I don't do it.
No, you don't.
But I never get any calls anyway.
let me
so what
turn my
difference does it
phone
make,
down.
you
Oh
know?
my God, I'm going to throw it
Yeah.
away.
Let's see. Yeah, and Jerry's turning his down. On the
Frank,
flip
you are laughing
Because it's the first phone ever made.
it's a flip phone, and as I say on several occasions that you've noticed that, is that I can even be in another state, and if I call you on this phone, you could hear me.
It's amazing.
That's amazing.
This technology is just
unbelievable.
blowing me away.
Hey, by the way, and you guys know I'm Catholic, and I went to confession last Saturday, as I do every Saturday, and I confessed.
Don't you have to go on Sundays?
No, I'd go to confession on
Church is
Saturday, and I was
Sundays.
talking to my cousin.
Yes. He
My
needs
cousin-
the extra day.
Yeah, I need the extra day. My cousin was coming out of the confessional, and he says, "Man," he says, "I just confessed," and he said, "I got to admit, went in there and told the priest that the big sin of this week is I committed adultery," and the priest said, "Really? Was it Julie Sims?" And he said, "No. I'm not gonna." And he said, "Well, was it Karen Edwards?" And he said, "No. I'm not gonna divulge who it was." And I said to my cousin, "Well, did you get absolution?" Which means at the end they give you penance and they say your sins are forgiven. And he said, "Yeah, I got absolution. I got 2 good leads." Anyway, so anyway.
That one?
Anyway. So anyway, Jerry.
I tried to go on a website where it says jokes, but you can't get it on this phone.
No, I don't think you can.
I don't get the jokes.
I really did like that one, Gene. I'm sorry.
Thanks, Megan. Hey, by the way, Jerry.
Well, speaking of, no, I'm not going to speak of adultery, but
no, don't.
no, but
Let's not.
Yeah. I don't know what
Speaking
your
of what-
situation, but my wife always likes. No, she always likes talking after sex.
Yeah. Does she?
In fact, last night she called me from Cleveland.
Ba-dum-bum.
Hey, by the way. Hey,
Is this thing on?
Testing 1, 2. Why do I pick on Cleveland?
I want to tell you something.
What?
Do you guys know about political correctness?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's become.
Do you really, though?
Yeah,
Really? Do you
he
know
doesn't
about-
act like he does he, Megan? Political correctness is something that I think is a good thing because it gets us to behave in ways that are culturally more acceptable than maybe in the past. And I was having this conversation with my wife recently, and she reminded me of something that I actually also saw. My wife is a dance teacher and a professional dancer. And throughout her career, there have been times when she's been hired as a contractor to come in and choreograph things. So she got...
We have dancers on our show.
Yeah, yes, you do, don't you?
Different kind of dancers, Jerry.
By the way,
Oh.
there's a 13-year-old girl in the audience here tonight who's going to perform in the next episode, Jerry. So let me
ballet.
appeal
Lock
now.
it up.
Ballet is
Just,
great.
just dial it down.
Lock it up, Springer. That's enough.
Who started with?
Not me.
You started.
No, I
You
did
didn't
not.
tell me.
No, I did
feel
not.
horrible now. Political correctness.
Hey, by the way, my wife gets hired to choreograph this commercial. The commercial was shot in a store, women's clothing store, for petite sizes. This goes back a ways. The store is not around anymore, but there were multiple locations for this store. My wife goes in. I drove her to this shoot. It was on a Sunday, and this was actually on a Sunday. They closed the store to shoot the commercial. We walk in. The advertising guy who did it, I'm not going to name his name. My wife goes in and says, "All right, what's the deal?" And he says, "Well, there is a jingle. It will be played in a minute. This is going to be shot in this location. There are these two women here who are dancers, and they're going to dance and sing. The music will play. And I want you to give them some motions." And she said, "Fine, let me hear the song." The song, I'm not going to sing it, but the song went like this. Now remember, it's for petite-sized women. A little of this, a little of that. Don't come in if you are fat, but do come in if you are slim.
What?
Can you imagine that?
That really was.
That really was
Are you kidding
a
me?
commercial.
Wowee.
Yeah.
And we were trying to figure out if that ever could be. I don't know.
The
Just
theme, actually, it's fun. It's the theme song for Trump's campaign.
Those were the words. What year was that, Gene?
In the 1980s, 70s, maybe 70s.
See, that still
Maybe
seems too
70s.
recent to have that
It
be
does.
acceptable.
It feels kind of recent.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And when the guy did the song, and we kind of looked at him like, even then,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? And they did it, and she took the money and ran, and the commercial was on for a short period of time, by the way, because even then it may have gotten a lot of pushback.
Now, because that's wrong, have you given the money back?
Well, of course
Testing,
we did.
1, 2, your mic's on.
Where did
yes,
Gene
of course
go?
we did. We returned it a month ago. Yes, it's a good point. It's a good point. And the answer is
You
yes,
kept
we
the
did
money
return
and-
it.
Hey,
We
you
returned
kept the
it.
money.
Hey,
Yes.
So recently there was the Super Bowl. I go to a Super Bowl party in Florida.
Yes.
You're at the Super Bowl party.
Yes.
I am for the Panthers.
Boo.
And I'm the only person out of
you-
about 150
Have you ever
people at
been
this
on
party.
a winning side of anything?
No. No.
You
I was
are
the
a
only
born
person
loser.
in that total place that was
You were.
for Cam Newton and the Panthers. Isn't that
Well,
true?
sure, because they were the favorites, and you always go with the front runners. And
Man, I didn't see
yeah, but you were the
anybody.
only one that, because it was a beautiful poetic story.
Yep.
To see Peyton Manning,
It was.
what I think will be his last game, going out as a winner, a champ, and all that. So it was poetry. But Cam Newton, phenomenal, did not handle it well at all.
No.
And it's kind of like, and some people are making excuses for him. He's young and all that. You know what? You get paid $20, $30 million. You get all these commercials. You get this wonderful life. You're surrounded by advisors and everything like that. Yep. You want to be the leader. He's the MVP of the league. Take some responsibility. That was a test of character. Mm-hmm. Because anybody can be gracious and funny when they win. I'm gracious and funny all the time. But
it's
how do
like
you,
Gene
how do you, how do you handle it if you're like Gene, if you lose?
Yeah, right.
No. And he just walked away from the press conference. That was, I mean, it's not a major issue in the world, but you know what?
It's disappointing, though.
It's this whole thing of entitlement.
Well, let me take the other side of that for just a second. Hey, the guy plays football. He's paid for what he does between the lines. He played. They lost. I thought he played poorly. I couldn't believe he didn't jump on the ball in the fourth quarter when they were down one score. Yeah. But do these players really have an obligation to go out and to? I mean, if he wants the endorsements, then I agree with you. He's got to play the game.
And that's the point.
If he
agree
wants
with
the
you.
endorsements,
I don't think, as a parent, we should ever tell our kids that the role models are athletes or any celebrity. No, the role model should be the parents.
Donald Trump, politicians, and folks like that.
Yeah. So, no, I agree with that. But if you, on your own, decide that you want to be a spokesperson for the league, you want to have all these commercials, you want to have the, what's it called when he puts his head in his elbow and that's become the new... But anyway, so he's become this folk hero, and he wants to do that and make a huge living at it. Well, then that comes with responsibility. You've stepped outside the lines. You've become this celebrity. He does this dance in the end zone every time he scores.
Right.
You know, and that's saying, look at me, look at me. Well, if you ask people to look at you, then, you know, you better get your act together. And I think he deserves all the criticism he's getting. That doesn't mean he's not a great football player. He'll still have a great career. Again, it's a trivial issue. But for kids that are watching that, and I can tell you because the people at my show are young. You know, they're all college-age kids, that kind of thing, that come to the show or whatever. And they're all doing the, you know, they really love this Cam Newton and the whole thing that he's doing now. And yet young people watch that and they say, is that how you handle defeat? Is that how you handle? I mean, it's only a symbol. It's not the world. It's only football. But it's just, you know, it's a representative of how we should behave when things go well and things go bad. And I just thought it was...
Well, I'll give you a comparison, and I'm not going to make a joke here, but I have watched you, and Megan, you have too, as we've worked with Jerry. He is very, very gracious, always.
Oh,
we goofed around the last episode about one occasion when you got distracted by the Yankees bottom of the ninth. We're not going to revisit that, but where you turned into a nasty man. But no, normally you are, for whatever your motivation is, you are conscious of fans. And so you could make that argument. What did you think of Beyonce, Jerry?
Well, I thought she was great. I loved the song was Formation that she did, and her dance. I mean, she's obviously this incredible talent. Here's what I liked, and then I'll tell you what I didn't like. I happened to be watching afterwards one of these cable news shows. I honestly don't remember what network it was. I'm sure it wasn't Fox, but one of the cable networks. And they had Rudy Giuliani on, and they were complaining, all of them, that this was too political, that, you know, because the song and the dance she did was singing about and dancing about what it is to be black in particularly the southern part of America. They were wearing the Black Panthers beret. It clearly was a form of art that reflected what many blacks go through in America. And Giuliani's complaint, and also these talking heads that I expected more from, they were all saying things like, you know, this is the Super Bowl, this is America, we're on stage, can we not be political? And the nerve, because we're fine if it's political representing white America and everything that we like or what's going on in our lives. We bring out the American flag everything is, the biggest moment is who's going to sing the national anthem and all that. We're constantly making statements about our country. Well, if we're going to show the world our country at halftime in the Super Bowl, then let's also show what a good portion of Americans, what they deal with. And not as white people start commenting on what they should feel. That's the worst part. The worst part about race in America today is we who are white, we too often, and I plead guilty too, you got to catch yourself, because we don't have the black experience, we are too often telling blacks what they should feel, what they should think. Why, when someone is upset with you, or when someone is upset, you never say to the person, what are you crying about? If someone is upset or angry or crying, take it as a given that they're hurting. And then see, are we in a position to do something about that pain? But don't comment on how could you express yourself? You have no reason to be upset. Who are we to say that someone else doesn't have a reason to be upset? They're obviously upset. And, Black Lives Matter. How many times do you hear white people say, what are they doing? Just stop it. Come on. This is the best, greatest country in the world and land of opportunity and all that. Well, the people that are part of that group, they are not happy. They do not think things are going well for them. So let's discuss how life can be better, not how dare you feel bad. How dare you express what your view is. If we could just start doing that, you don't ever tell your kid who's crying, stop your crying. You have nothing to cry about. If you're married, you don't ever tell your spouse, what are you upset about? If you do, you're going to pay for that the rest of the month. What I always tell guys is, if your wife is yelling at you, what she's yelling about is not what she's really upset about. It's probably something that has been building up that you haven't been paying attention to. And where guys always get screwed up is we always start arguing the details. Yeah. I did take out the garbage. Well, she's not angry at you because you didn't take out the garbage. She's angry at you that for the last 2 weeks you've been gone or not paying attention or worried about your golf game and stuff like that. Why am I looking at you when I'm saying that?
You feel guilty.
I got off topic here. We were talking about the football thing. Anyway, Beyonce, you go get them. If you've got a message, go get them. I just got upset about that. That's all.
Hey, by the way, and as we mentioned before, we're streaming live, so we're doing this podcast for those listening to live on the night of the New Hampshire primary. And it looks like, as we speak, that as predicted, Bernie Sanders has won the New Hampshire primary.
Yeah, Bernie. Go Bernie. Good for him.
And maybe by a comfortable margin. I mean, I'm just trying to pull this up now off of Huffington Post as my source. And I don't know yet, but I'll do some checking, Jerry, and because you might want to speak to this or the primary in general. I don't know. Did you had some comments you wanted to make about it. Yeah. So have at it and let me do some checking while you're doing that.
Oh, okay. First of all, on the Democratic side, it's a wonderful feeling for Sanders supporters, but I think it's pretty fair to say that you can't draw any lessons from the New Hampshire primary or even the Iowa primary on the Democratic side. And the reason for that is that New Hampshire and Iowa are almost exclusively white. And the great base of the Democratic Party includes a huge amount of African Americans, Hispanics, etc. Until Bernie Sanders shows that he can win among minorities, then it's going to be nice that he won New Hampshire and Iowa, and he's going to feel good about that, and the young people are going to feel good about that, and people who are very liberal are going to feel good about that. You can't yet be figuring out what the curtain should be at the White House because there are a lot of steps to go through before that happens. Having said that, as I said on a prior week, and don't get angry with me, but I still, and I could be wrong, but I still can't conceive that Bernie Sanders will be the next president of the United States. And for this reason, and I'm not talking about the merits of him on the issues, because I love him on the issues, but these kind of things happen. If Hillary just implodes, if it happens, I'll give three possibilities. The first is, if it looks like Sanders in the next 2 months might be the Democratic candidate, my guess is Michael Bloomberg gets into the race. Michael Bloomberg is very liberal on some issues. You know, the former mayor of New York, 3-term mayor, Bloomberg News. I mean, he's very bright, very successful, entrepreneur, media, etc. But he's obviously part of Wall Street, and he's a real capitalist. He's great on guns. He's the anti-gun guy, and he's great on the environment, climate change. I mean, he's got some real liberal social positions. But he, from his point of view, could not tolerate a Democratic socialist being in the White House. And as a result, he would enter the presidential race as an independent. If he runs, I will argue that guarantees a Republican president, even if it's someone like Trump. The reason being, there are no states that went Republican against Obama, for example, that are suddenly going to vote Democrat for a socialist. It just ain't going to happen. And certainly not a very liberal Democrat or socialist who is anti-gun. I mean, can you imagine going to Idaho? Can you imagine going to Texas? Can you imagine the states that Republicans win 70% of the vote? So he's not going to take any votes away, any states away, I should say, from the electoral votes that the Republican candidate gets. He could take votes away from the Democrats. And if he takes just 1 or 2 states, or he won't win any states, but if he takes enough votes away from Bernie Sanders, then that state, which was very close and just barely, for example, Florida, that maybe just barely went for Obama or would barely go Democrat, he's going to take enough votes away that all of a sudden the Republican wins that state. The Republican wins Ohio. The Republican wins, Florida, some of these close states, Pennsylvania. And that's why if Hillary falls apart before the end of March, because that would be the deadline for Michael Bloomberg to enter the race, if she falls apart before then, you're going to see Bloomberg in the race, and that, I'm afraid, will guarantee a Republican president. If it's close between the two of them, all the way down to the convention, then it's too late for him to get in the race. The second thing is, I want to be wrong, but if you held a gun to my head and said, you got to be right or you're dead, I can't conceive, and maybe it's my age, because, I'm thinking McGovern and how I went crazy for McGovern, how I went crazy for Ted Kennedy against Jimmy Carter. So I've always been out there, but I can't imagine America at this point voting for a Democrat socialist. I just don't see that. If I'm wrong, wonderful. The third item to think about is today there was testimony before the Intelligence Committee on the Senate, which is a misnomer. Why would you call any politician's committee intelligence? But the serious part about it was the testimony was about how there were 60 terrorist activities within the United States last year, 60 that they caught. They said today in the testimony they think something is going to happen this year. They're going to keep trying to stop them all, but they think there's now that ISIS has said they're aiming to get the United States, not just Europe. All I'm saying is if there's any terrorist act, I think the voters all of a sudden will go for, on the Democratic side, they're more likely to go for someone with foreign policy experience, so they probably would go for Hillary. On the Republican side, they'll go for one of those macho guys. And I'm not saying this is good, but I'm just saying that's what the reaction's going to be. We'll talk about the economy as long as people don't think there's a terrorist threat. If there's something, even a minor 9/11, all of a sudden everyone's going to be afraid again, and we're going to want, the country's going to go in a different way. So I don't see Bernie Sanders as president of the United States if America is, or people feel America may be under attack. That, I think, is reality. I'm not trying to convince anybody not to vote for Bernie Sanders, okay? And I mean that. My own family is voting for Bernie Sanders. I just believe that if he's the candidate, a Republican, for the reasons I just gave, the most important one being Michael Bloomberg getting in the race, I think a Republican will wind up being president.
This go-round, old school analyses have failed us, you as well, you and I as well. I mean, we didn't think Donald Trump. It could be, Jerry, that even our traditional analysis of Bernie Sanders, when we repeatedly say a Democratic socialist can't be elected president, I'm not so sure that the deck isn't being shuffled totally, that all bets are off, all voting habits are changing, the information people are getting is coming through a new way. Twitter, Instagram, all, social media. It could be that if we keep thinking, well, Bernie Sanders can't win as a Democratic socialist, I'm not so sure I'm concerned about that. I'm more curious about his connectability across the country. How likable is he perceived?
I think he's totally likable.
Okay, well,
I think he's totally likable. He comes across as totally honest, and he's everyone's uncle or grandfather or whatever. I mean, image-wise, he's the jackpot. But remember, and this is true of both primaries, we're talking about a very special universe. He's very popular within the Democratic universe, as Trump is very popular within a Republican universe. But eventually there's a general election.
Persuadable voters, that's where you and I know that's where it's always one. Persuadable voters, people that can go this way or that way, have gone this way, have gone that way. But let's say it's Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. I mean, it could be that.
Yeah.
It could be that. And then what happens to the persuadable voters? Do they go, think about this for a second, do they go farther left than they've ever been for a guy, and I think you've hit it just right on the head. He's likable, he's honest, there's no BS to this guy, and yet he's a Democratic socialist, well, which he will have to continue to define to the voters, to the persuadable voters. And if they're choosing between that, somebody who is farther left than they've ever gone, and a guy who is brash, politically incorrect, vain, vulgar, and a celebrity TV show guy, I don't know which way they would go, those persuadable voters. The right wing will go with Trump, the left wing will go with Sanders. But if that became the race, which way do you think they go? Do you think they go to Trump versus Sanders?
Remember, most of the governors are still Republican. Congress is overwhelmingly Republican.
Right.
So the political establishment, they're out of favor right now, but they probably think they can deal with Trump, that he's crazy and rude and all that. But when the cameras are off, he lives in a real world of dealing with powerful people. Bernie is talking about a revolution. Anyone who is having a pretty good life in America will suddenly start to think twice about, do I really want a revolution? Because I don't know what happens with the revolution.
He isn't the only revolutionary thing I've heard
I'm being
him
a pessimist.
talk about.
I don't think America will vote, maybe in 10 years. But with this Republican Congress, what piece of legislation that Bernie is for do you think this right-wing Republican Congress is going to pass?
I'm with you on that, but
Not
I'm
one
asking the
piece.
question, which way will the persuadables go, that center group? And I think given that choice, the only revolution I'm hearing Bernie Sanders talk about, this is going to sound like a rap on him, but it's how I see it, is dealing with student loan debt, which is very popular among kids, and single-payer health care, which I would be for anyway.
Sure.
Making it a Medicare kind of deal for everybody, anybody who wants to be part of it. I don't know, he's not really talking about revolution like Cuba or China, where we're going to confiscate private property. I mean, you want to talk revolution, taking guns away, confiscate private property,
Take
putting
Cincinnati,
opponents
Ohio,
in jails.
right here. Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio. And by the way, I'm in favor of what Bernie Sanders is asking for in terms of the students and health care. Okay, I'm in favor of it. So this is not a discussion about But maybe there's a new Cincinnati that I don't remember. But we have to be honest. If you are going to say free college education for all students, even those who come from families that could well afford to pay something.
Yep.
But he's not saying that. And then you have to ask yourself, by the way, who's going to pay the professors? Who's going to pay for all the people who work in these universities? You know, it's nice to say free, but obviously someone has to pay. No one's going to work for nothing. So free college education and Medicare for everybody. It is dishonest to say that there won't be a significant tax increase for virtually all Americans. We can't just say the 1%, and I'm living up there, I admit, but you could take all the money from the 1%, and you wouldn't come anywhere close to paying for all of this. So let's just be honest, and I'm in favor of it. But if you're going to have Medicare for everybody, plus free college for everybody, everybody's taxes, that means everyone who earns a living, gets paid for a job, everyone's taxes are going to go significantly up. And rather than get in an argument, just ask yourself, with the people of Cincinnati, just where we are now, Northern Kentucky, are those people really going to vote for that? They might say so at a cocktail party or at the bowling alley, but when they're in that voting, man, I can't afford another couple of $1,000. I got to vote no. No one will know.
Politics is choices, though. Do they then turn to Donald Trump, who carries with him a whole other set of, oh, my God, I can't go that way either? I mean, what it might do is drive down. By the way,
They may go for Trump because Trump is not an ideologue. He's just crass and rude.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
But he's not an ideologue. You know?
No, he's not. He's not.
The people probably think we can work. We'll shut our ears. We won't let our kids listen to Trump. But, they probably think they can deal with him. The Congress can deal with him, That's what I think.
Would you agree that the political establishment, though, is represented by? Is that your flip phone going off?
No,
that's his flip phone going off. Didn't we all just turn off our cell phones? You saw me do it.
Are you serious?
Oh, I have a flip phone,
honey.
Now he's on the phone. Here,
hi. I'm
is
on
it
the.
Katie?
Yeah,
Put her
I'm on the.
Can we put her on the air?
Right. Can I call you back right after the podcast?
Hi, Katie.
It's great.
Okay, I love you. Bye.
Okay.
Oh wait, now I got to call my wife.
Yeah.
Well, what area code is 216? Oh my God, she's in Cleveland.
It's Cleveland. Did you really not turn that phone off? Are you serious?
That was
You referenced the political establishment before. The political establishment, shockingly this go-round, is dead.
It's dead.
That is the point. That's how Trump just won New Hampshire, and that's how Bernie Sanders just won New Hampshire. The political establishment in both parties are trying to stop these guys, both political establishments in both parties.
I'm saying middle America would stop that. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, I'm with you. That's where I want to go. Is the persuadable voters. Which way are they going to tilt?
I think middle America, and I'd like to think that I'm wrong, but I think this younger generation in about 10 years will have a new set of values, and I think we will move closer to socialism. I believe that. That's, the company that owns this show that we started is called Liberals Always Win. So I think in the end, we win. I just don't think it happens overnight. And I think right now, the people that are still voting, I haven't seen evidence. I see too many school levies that are defeated. I mean, if you can't vote for a school levy, where are you going to get people to vote, really big increases in their taxes? And we have to be honest, because it's too easy to say, I'm for free college and I'm for Medicare for everybody, and then pretend that it's not going to raise our taxes. Just be honest and say, I'm willing to pay higher taxes for it. Then
he will be. I believe that Bernie Sanders will be forced, especially if he gets traction after New Hampshire, if he's competitive in South Carolina. It's the industrial states I'm curious about, and even some stuff out west. He will be forced, I believe, Jerry, to have to explain two things, I think. One, he'll continue to have to explain what does democratic socialism mean. It does not mean taking people's private property, taking their guns, jailing opponents. It doesn't mean what it means in North Korea, Cuba, China, etc.
Right.
Number two, he's going to have to explain how it helps persuadable voters and doesn't bankrupt them. That's on him. And
Yeah, he has to
everybody who
explain it.
supports Bernie Sanders, we all have to be. Everybody has to get busy to get over that hump, or I totally agree with you. He won't get voters from Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati, places, Des Moines, Iowa, etc.
And I am saying,
Flint, Michigan,
I
etc.
totally agree with you. And I would add to that there is no explanation, because if there were an explanation, he would already have given it. Why go through this? If he could have explained on day one, because he's been a socialist his whole political career. So it's not like, oh, I never gave this any thought. The reason he hasn't come up with how this is really going to work,
How to pay for it.
I mean, is because he would have to tell voters, remember, Walter Mondale in 1984 stood at the Democratic Convention and said, Ronald Reagan will say, we'll raise your taxes, but he won't tell you. I'll raise your taxes and I'll tell you. And Mondale lost 49 states. So, that's the reality. The reason there is no explanation is because the only answer is we all have to be willing to pay more in taxes. That is the price of socialism. But a lot of countries say, wonderful, I'll pay more in taxes if we can have that kind of society. I don't know that America's there yet. That's all I'm saying.
All right, well, and by the way, and we're going to turn to some music here in a minute, something we love to do in the final third of each of our podcasts. Let's make that a task, and it's frankly an easy task in the sense of finding out specifically where we can, Bernie Sanders' website, talking to surrogates, et cetera, something I'll do. I'll happily do it. What is the answer to the question, how could voters support your programs because of their costs? How do you pay? We'll find out. Does he say deep cuts into military spending? I'm throwing out, I don't know this to be his answers. Is it reshuffling some other departments? Is it getting more money out of the business community through taxes? But let's find that out. Let's vet it ourselves. And if we continue to come up with the answer, it's impractical and politically impossible, then we ought to keep saying it. But at any rate, let's bring forward the Whiskey Bent Valley Boys. They're from Pee Wee Valley, Kentucky, and we're real excited as they come in and get set up to hear these guys. By the way, they have a new record that's coming out in April, and you can find out more about them at whiskeybentvalley.com. And I'm going to ask these guys to do a song and then hear a little bit about their backgrounds and get some introductions. You guys good to go?
Oh, we're ready.
Here we go. The Whiskey Bent Valley Boys.
All right, this song's called Black Eyed Susie. We figured Jerry Springer might know something about that one. Fire it off, boy.
Black Susie went to that ball. She wore
That's the Whiskey Bent Valley Boys. You guys, that's got a lot of energy. And somebody maybe do some introductions, please.
I'll do the
All
introductions.
right,
Right here
go,
on
right
the fiddle, lead singer and the fiddle player. He might look Amish, folks, but he's not. I guarantee you that. That's J.R.
Not
McFinnigan.
that there's anything wrong with the Amish.
Yeah. His ancestors might be a little Amish, but he's not. Back there on the bass, that's old Leroy Jones. We call him High Water Jones.
All right.
And then, yeah, there we go. And I myself, I played old clawhammer banjo. My name is Mason Dixon.
All right. Hey, where's Pee Wee Valley, Kentucky, by the way?
You know that it's just right outside of Louisville, right between Lexington.
Okay. And have you guys been playing music together for a long time, or
Oh yes, sir.
as a group?
As us three, we've been playing together about 7 years now.
How did you come together? Did you know each other back in school, or?
Well, it's actually pretty funny. His dad played with my dad, and they played in a band, and they played an old time traditional style of music, and we just kind of picked it up a little bit, and then kind of put our own twist on it, and a little moonshine on it, whatever it takes.
Nice.
That's cool.
And you have a record coming out in April, right?
Yes, sir. This will be our first record coming out on a record label.
Yes.
Woohoo! Coming from Los Angeles, Questionable Records. The album will be coming out actually Derby weekend.
Derby
Nice.
weekend.
Okay. Would you do us another song?
One more. We got one more for you.
All right.
You know, in Kentucky we got plenty of rabbits.
Sure.
Sometimes too many to eat,
Yep.
but you just got to keep trying to get at them. So this song's called "Run Rabbit Run."
That's the Whiskey Bent Valley Boys from Pee Wee Valley, Kentucky. That's good stuff, guys.
Appreciate it.
Hey, could you take us out on Hootie Ledbetter or Leadbelly's Irene Goodnight? And Jerry Springer's going to jump in on it with you.
But we strut
live in the country, and sometimes I live in town. Sometimes I take a great notion to jump in the river and drown.
You've been listening to Tales, Tunes, and Tomfoolery, recorded live at the Folk School Coffee Parlor in Ludlow, Kentucky. Thanks to Patrick Kennedy for writing our opening song, and to you for listening. Check out our website at jerryspringer.com.
Y'all come back now.